Hello, my name is Philip Privis. I'm speaking on behalf of Shane Colclough, who's the lead author and researcher for this work, and my colleague Neil Hewitt. This work is looking at low energy dwellings, specifically in the social housing sector, and how we can unlock the potential for low energy dwellings in this particular sector. Low energy buildings are known for the benefits for the occupants, for the environment, and for society. I've been researching in this area for the last 30 years. The problem about it is that we're still building what I would refer to as energy hungry homes. In fact, in Northern Ireland we have the lowest building regulation standards across the whole of Europe. What's dragging this inertia and stopping us moving forward to building low energy buildings? Part of the problem is that builders were built to the lowest regulations that they can, primarily because they are wanting to maximize the return on the buildings that they sell. The low costs of fossil fuels also mean that payback in terms of the increased costs for energy efficient buildings is just not there. There's a societal inertia and also some claim a lack of a skilled workforce, specifically in developing energy efficient buildings where we have a high level of air tightness for the building. This project looked at a basic 3-bed social house in Northern Ireland of about 94 square meters floor area, and 3 upgrade options were considered. And for this we used a multiple benefit analysis, which comes from some work done about 6 years ago by the International Energy Agency. And from that we've got direct and indirect financial benefits which spread across the householder, the social housing provider, person who built the dwelling, and also the government, where that's local and national, that's combined. These direct costs are the costs of energy, potential end user carbon taxings which may have to come in to force societal change of end user energy use. Indirect costs include things such as capitalization of buildings, rental value, benefits the local economy through increased spending because of reduced spending on fuels, and reduced healthcare costs because of improved overall health of the occupants. The 4 standards analysed, we had a base case which was the current Northern Ireland minimum building regulations, using the standard assessment procedure, which is the current Energy Performance and Building Directive analysis for Northern Ireland. The English Building Regulations Standard, which is the standard that housing associations in Northern Ireland can build to and get a grant to build towards that. And then 2 based upon the Passive House Standard, 1 with gas central heating to provide the hot water requirements and any residual heat, and 1 with a heat pump which is integrated into the heat recovery and ventilation system as based upon the Passive House Standard. The energy consumption figures and the PHPP and the SAP data can be found in the paper, and you can have a read of that at your leisure, along with the extra costs. But you notice that the extra costs for going towards the English standards are around about £7,000. For going towards the Passive House Standard, we're talking about just an extra £3,500 for the gas, and about £2,000 for the heat pump costs. Considering that in Northern Ireland anything built to the EEM standard or above gets an extra £3,500, then you're looking at only, for example, sort of £4,000 extra costs for the EEM standard for housing associations. So once you've got all that data, you can go through and you can look at different savings that can be made. So here's a couple. So here's the basic energy costs and energy savings going from the base case to the EEM standard, and you're looking at over a 20-year period a saving of around about between £1,400 and £4,800 between difference between SAP, which will classify as the lower case, and PHPP, which is the higher potential case. If you look at carbon emissions and you look at the potential in terms of those to be taxed for users, you're looking at a saving between sort of around about £950 and £1,600 over the 20-year period. So you bring those together along with things such as the increase in rent that is potentially could be charged to the tenant, the economic benefits to society, the health benefits to society and reduced healthcare costs, the value of the building potentially increasing according to research, and you can see that the total benefits for the English standard compared with the current Northern Ireland standard are sort of shared across them all, with the sort of potential housing association getting the largest benefit. That is primarily based on increased capitalisation, something that housing associations are not something that the housing associations do not get judged on in terms of their performance, which is a pity, because if their capitalisation was considered when their performance was considered, then so this could be of great benefit to them. Take away that, and then there's very little benefit to the housing associations, which we'll discuss later. You can do the same thing then for gas, for the passive house standard, and also for the heat pump, and you can see that actually the overall benefits are substantially more for both over the 20-year period for the passive house standard at both gas and also for the heat pump. So if you look at these and then you look at what's going to happen at the end of 20 years, because the end of 20 years you need to replace your heat pump, you need to replace your gas, and if the plans with regard to the direction of travel towards 2050 is as proposed by the Committee on Climate Change within the United Kingdom, then we'll have to move away from gas towards a heat pump. So that's a substantial extra cost in terms of the refurbishment of the passive house gas house, and you can see that there in this particular figure, the future cost in red of £10,300 for moving from a gas boiler to a heat pump. Well, just the replacement, a new heat pump for the heat pump house is substantially smaller, but the costs for the upgrade for from the English standard and also from the base case are substantial amounts of money in 20 years time, significantly removing any benefit from the savings that you make now, or the savings under the English standard that you're going to make compared with the base case. So from that, it can be quite clear that actually even though you're having to spend money now up front, which is the yellow, we're far better off spending the money to go to the passive house standard now than going to a small incremental changes because of the roughly £26,000 to retrofit this house, which is what we're saying is going to cost the particular housing association to be able to upgrade their homes. So summary of the findings: overall financial case is positive for the passive house now, but over the 20-year period it makes a lot of sense to make this investment. Moving towards the passive house now certainly avoids excessive refurbishment costs in the future for housing associations. Interestingly enough, from the MBA, the government is the largest benefactor, which is interesting because the government maybe doesn't think that it's going to benefit from this. It's just going to be putting money in. But also, this exercise potentially says to the government that it's actually worth their while by going for very low energy building regulations now, because in the long term they will benefit financially. Unfortunately, the housing provider gets the least benefit, but they are the decision maker, and so you have this catch-22 situation. But if they could be, their performance could be considered in terms of the capitalization of their housing stock, then you could include the benefit from the capital value in the calculation, and they then would be a benefit. They would gain a benefit from going towards low energy buildings. Just point out that this study is based upon model data, not actually recorded data. There's no consideration of rebound or comfort taken by residents, and there are assumptions in some of the other data taken, which does need to be taken into account. But what this paper is pointing towards is that there are significant financial benefits for everybody involved in moving now towards a low energy standard and not waiting or making incremental changes between now and achieving a low energy standard as required by the Climate Change Committee. Thank you very much.